How are you going to bring the millennials on board? Thank you, Christine Welsman. So, Christine, this is a really good question. I've got a 5-point plan, if you will. First of all, we need to focus on those millennials who are more accessible to a pro-growth agenda. And these tend to be younger people who are focused on practical concerns, on putting food on the table for their family, on employment, more focused on things like that than whatever David Suzuki said on the CBC last night. And there's a lot of those young Albertans who just want economic opportunity as their number one priority. So we focus on them. Point two, there are a lot of young people who maybe voted for the NDP last time based on pie in the sky promises, but who will be mugged by economic reality because of this recession. I can see a lot of young people who maybe thought they were going to get a $15 an hour minimum wage, some of whom now have a $0 an hour wage because they've lost their service industry job at 20% youth unemployment, partly because of the higher minimum wage. I know a lot of young people who maybe voted for the tuition freeze and will get a university degree, but that leads them to unemployment. So I think there will be a greater economic realism amongst many young Albertans in the next election. Third point, I think a lot of young Albertans focus on freedom as a core political value. If you, to use a word in political theory, I think a lot of younger Albertans have a sort of libertarian sense. And so I want our platform to include certain policies that appeal to that, to expand the horizons of personal and human freedom, to roll back some of the excesses of the nanny state and the war on fun, to appeal to that kind of libertarian sensibility amongst many young Albertans. And then fourthly, I think we need to do a radically better job of communicating our opportunity message through media that are relevant to young people, who get almost 100% of their information from wireless devices. You know, a generation for whom the Dead Tree newspaper and the Supper Hour News is no longer exists. We need to produce compelling, professional video and graphic content that makes the case for economic opportunity in markets for that generation. And then finally, point 5, I hope that we can recruit and nominate a good number of competent younger Albertans to serve in the next government as MLAs and ministers, in a sense to represent the values and aspirations of their generation and to communicate the conservative message back to that generation. So those are my 5 initial points. If you have other ideas, I'd really like to hear them.